Hi, I'm Arthur, and if you have been following me for a considerable amount of time, and if you have been looking in the comments for some time as well, you would notice two trends of the requests I tend to get. The first one kind of caught me off guard, and that was Lamenters. I will be straight with you, I had no idea they were that popular. But alongside them, you have the topic of today, the Adeptus Mechanicus. Making a video about the Mechanicus is a bit odd. I look into the AdMech and I see a very rich history intertwined with the Imperium of man while still keeping their distance and having their own dogmatic religious beliefs, while also worshipping the Emperor on the side. But I also see the fact that there are not many novels starring them that don't involve Belisarius' Call. There is a reason for this. I will get into it. So before I actually do get into it, who are the AdMech? They are a generally interesting faction, initially being a separatist force in the Imperium known as the Mechanicum. They ended up being brought into the folds of the Imperium due to the fact that they, as a culture, hoard ancient technology and are able to use it. The rest of the Imperium does not have this ability. They own the majority of fabricator worlds as well as forge worlds to create the tech the Imperium needs to survive. Are you a space marine? Well, congrats. Without the Mechanicus, you would not have armor or a bolt gun. You a guardsman? Don't even get me started on the level of contribution they give the guard in terms of weapons, tanks, etc. So, generally speaking, without the AdMech, the Imperium would just fall in a matter of days, more or less, if not seconds. Culturally, they're fucking insane. They worship the almighty machine, and from there they praise this being known as the Omnisaya, which may or may not be the Void Dragon shard that is hidden underneath the surface of Mars in the Noctis Labyrinth, but we don't talk about the Noctis Labyrinth. Not unless you want to get Delta 52 Epsilon over here to get the Unalivinator 5000 to rip you the fuck in half with super cancer lasers. Yeah, that is a actually good segue into the weird warriors and weapons that they use in terms of the hierarchy to the AdMech. The baseline soldiers are referred to as the Skatari, and everything in this force has its purpose, and everything is a practical approach as to how to accomplish the job as efficiently as possible. They believe that every tool a person would need has already been created, and thusly, they just need to use them properly. If they encounter a problem that they cannot deal with currently, they just assume they haven't discovered the tool yet. Notice how I didn't say invented, because they honestly do not invent much. It is heresy to make new technology, as it shows no reverence for the old technology. I understand I am oversimplifying their beliefs on this, but you have to understand it is a very weird and esoteric religion. Essentially, if I were to put my tinfoil hat on, there is, as I mentioned, a large shard of the machine god known as the Void Dragon buried under Mars, likely because the Emperor kicked its ass and sent it there. While it is dormant, the dreams and minds of everyone who lives on Mars is deeply affected by its influence, slowly causing them to become obsessed with machinery, and they begin to replace parts of their own fleshy organic bodies. Now, is this the case for all AdMech? Fuck no. Some of them just really think robots are cool and have no tie to the Void Dragon whatsoever. And yeah, robots are cool, but it does come from a sleeping alien dragon god. So once again, say it with me, kids. Do not go into the fucking Noctis Labyrinth. It is not fucking worth it. Technology, culture, and weird techno-heresy aside, the AdMech are an odd topic in the setting of 40k because they have so many different fans and people who collect the models without knowing any of the lore. But there aren't many novels that highlight mainly AdMech casts of characters. The closest I have seen, aside from anything that has Belisarius' Call, would be in a journey that either stars humans working closely with the AdMech, stories of heresy involving the old Mechanicum, and stories with the Iron Hands that are more or less AdMech adjacent. They are often included in any stories involving Space Marines because tech priests often accompany some Space Marines and such. some of these characters are actually really interesting. One of my favorite non-Space Marine characters is a tech priest from the Night Lords trilogy named Deltrin, who is described as styling himself to look like the fucking Grim Reaper, which is dope as hell. But why is it Mechanicus characters are often relegated to the side character role? Because they always appear as the assistant, not the main character. It's a difficult question to fully give an answer to, because I don't work at the Black Library. I just read the books. So if I were to give you a concrete reason, it's because AdMech characters, and the AdMech as a whole, are very easily written to be one note. If you've ever played a tabletop RPG, like D&D, Pathfinder and such, you have experienced the player who says the phrase, "This is what my character would do," to justify his shitty behavior and ruining the game for other people. And to be honest, that's what a lot of bad writing for the AdMech is like. They endanger allies simply to get new technology, because that is obviously what the AdMech would do. They fuck over people on a whim just for blessed machines. It's stated in the Leagues of Votann lore that if the Leagues themselves interact with the Mechanicus, they refuse to show any of their technology, because if the Mechanicus found out that they had STC shards, or even a fully intact STC, they would commit an entire genocide just to get to them. It's why, when the Mechanicus game came out, you saw a bunch of people start to enjoy the AdMech more, because the head mega of that game actually cares about the casualties, and is protecting the Skatari foot soldiers from death. But in other stories where they play a similar role, they are often overly obsessed with tech heresy to the point where it will impede other characters, while they have to pray for the light socket to turn on properly and flick the light switch about 40 times so the machine spirit knows you kind of trust it and like it that way. I love Hell's Reach as a book, and although not completely of the Mechanicus, the Princeps Majoris of a massive contingent of knights and titans was so concerned about tech heresy that they fought and almost fled a war because one of the Black Templars was going to bring an ancient Ordinatus weapon, a Nova cannon known as Oberon, to the battlefield that was sealed away by the AdMech hundreds of years ago. They said it was heresy to take the cannon out, when, if they didn't take it out anyway, the planet itself was going to be destroyed by orcs, which kind of makes it a bit short-sighted on their end. I get it that religious fundamentals are important, but the weapon itself would eventually be found by the orcs and destroyed or attached to an orc vehicle of some sort. So them being so stuck in their ways, accusing heresy, almost cost them the planet. Just from them stalling because they were afraid of agreeing with the person who wanted to use it, it cost billions of lives. I can see a lot of AdMech writing fall into this exact trap, where they are so focused on keeping the traditions, the teachings, and the culture ingrained in the characters that it is to a detriment to the good character writing. I think that's why Deltrin worked so well, because he was a dark Mechanicum adept, meaning he turned traitor during the heresy and stuck with that traitorous mentality, meaning he didn't have as many rules and religious dogma as the other Adeptus Mechanicus members in the setting. I have issues with the AdMech's narrative side of things. Miniature-wise, I think they look fantastic. They look like they are a pain in the ass to paint, but I think when you are playing them, they're fun. You can bombard people with radioactive missiles and just shoot them from across the map. It's really fun. But again, I find them a bit dull. What do you think about the AdMech? I think they are necessary, but not that interesting to me. I know a lot of you have been requesting this, so I want to know what parts of the Mechanicus you like, and if you would like me to cover more in the future, let me know. I might do so. So just let me know in the comments. Alongside that, make sure to like and subscribe because it helps the channel. Lastly, thank you to my channel members for keeping me fed this month, and if you want to see exclusive content or just see videos early, then become a member today. Before I go, yes, I know I am talking about the Night Lords trilogy for the 100th time. It left a pretty huge impression on me. You cannot fucking stop me.